Hey y'all, it's CR Parsons of the Smokey Guys, and as you can tell, this is going to be a little different episode because I am outdoors. I am very outdoors. I'm actually in Branson, Missouri this week. Kevin is over in Texas. I'm not sure what he's up to.
Hey there, Smokey Guys. It's KP here. You can see it's a beautiful day, spring break in Texas. Left Tulsa to come down to this. This is gorgeous. What a day it started off. We had barbecue. It's not even 10:30 a.m. yet. And of course, you know I had to hook my boy up since I'm down here at the HEB. Get that there. And you've heard him brag about the coffee he likes. So here you go, CR. Bringing some of that back to Tulsa. By the way, you owe me. See you guys soon.
But it is spring break around Oklahoma this week, and so we decided we would take off and go to Silver Dollar City. And so we are camping out at Silver Dollar City Campground. I got my fire right here. Let me see if I can get down and see the fire. Got a nice little fire going, got my tent set up. It has been a while since I have tent camped. I'm not much of a camper. I have never seen much of a reason to cosplay as homeless. So I'm not that much of a camper, but I decided it was time. My wife and I decided to come out, and of course we picked a beautiful week for it. It's going to be 26 tonight in a tent, if I didn't mention that. We've done a couple of days already, and it was down into the low 30s one night, and that wasn't too bad. We've got electricity here, so we can plug in a heater or two and electric blankets to stay warm, and of course we have each other to stay warm, and of course I've got a cigar to stay warm, so I'm always good. I've got cigar, I've got whiskey. What more do I need? Like I said, this is going to be a little different episode because Kevin and I are in different places, so he and I cannot have a conversation. I may find somebody to have a conversation with at some point over the course of this week or weekend or however long I take to record this episode. But I just wanted to let you guys know what was going on. So, a few days into tent camping, and I already have some suggestions, some notes, if you will, if you're going camping. Number one, I recommend you take an RV. It's warmer. It's cold out here. If you were watching the weather, and if you were, I don't know why you would be paying attention, but if you were paying attention, in Branson this week, the highs have been 40s, low 50s, lows down in the 20s, and that's what I've been sleeping in. Because I'm an idiot, and like I said, I don't know how to vacation. I think I've mentioned that before. But yeah, it's been an interesting week. It's been fun. Don't get me wrong. We've got electricity at the site, so it's really not all that bad. I've got heaters. I'm glamping. I'll admit it. For those of you who really tent camp and go hike into somewhere in tent camp, I am 100% glamping because I have a queen size air mattress with a headboard. Yeah, the headboard airs up. I can prop myself up in bed and read a book if I want to. I don't want to, but I could. I also have. I've got coffee. I made coffee this morning in a electric kettle because I can. I didn't have to start my fire before having my coffee. I could have a cup of coffee and then start my fire. So I'm glamping. Don't let me fool you. I'm having fun with this. Not a review, but if you have not been in a while, or if you've never been, Branson's a pretty cool place to come. It's very laid back. It's relaxed, unless you're right on 76, which is called Music Row or Music Highway or something. They used to have a million great theaters and musicals and shows. Now they still have a few. I understand some of them are good. My cousin went and saw the Haywoods the other night, so shout out to the Haywoods. They said it was absolutely spectacular. They loved it. They had a blast watching them. And they said the show was good. And my cousin knows a little bit about music. I mean, he's one of the guys that I go to when I have questions. So he's nice. He's from Mississippi, so he's nice. He's not going to say crap about people just to say crap. But at the same time, if it were bad, he would have told me. Because he's also not one to spend $50 or more on a ticket to go see something that's terrible and then suggest it to somebody else and it be terrible. So yeah, so that is one thing that was done this week was he went to that show, and they still have shows here. We've spent most of our time either shopping or my wife went shopping, and I've spent most of my time in Silver Dollar City, and I hadn't been to Silver Dollar City in a long time. I started coming to Silver Dollar City in probably about 1979, 78, 79, somewhere in there. And Silver Dollar City was this little bitty place that was more historic than amusement park. They had a few rides. They had most of the park was not paved. It was either gravel or wood chips. A lot of it was craftspeople doing their thing. So it was more of that than it was the big rides that they have today. But I did that years ago and had a blast. Came here all the time as a kid, and then didn't do it again for another decade or so. Then when we had our kids, we got season tickets again and came and did the whole Branson thing and camped out and got hotels and stayed in RVs and went to Silver Dollar City. And it had changed a bunch by then, because by then they had put in a bunch of the bigger rides. Wildfire had come in. I think Thunderation's been there a long time. I know Fire in the Hole had been there forever. I think it was put in 72. And this is its last year. And I remember that like it was yesterday, because that was the first roller coaster I ever rode, and I was scared half to death, and I hated it. Now, I learned to love roller coasters, but at the time I was a wimpy guy when it came to roller coasters. I hated them. They scared me half to death. I was afraid of things in the dark, because my imagination is scarier than anything that exists. And that's one of those dark rides where you go around corners and there's not a lot of light, you hear a lot of noises, and then there's a little roller coaster involved too. And so for me, that was nightmare fuel. So, but by the time our kids were around, they had that, they had Wildfire, they had the big river ride. I don't remember what it's called, but they had all of that stuff. So the kids loved it. They absolutely love Silver Dollar City. And I luckily got smart for a second. I'm not always that smart, but I got smart for a second. And one time when we were here with the kids, this was long before cell phones. Cell phones existed, but we didn't give them to kids. We were here on a summer day, and it was beautiful, and there were 1 million people in the park. The park was packed, and we had those little walkie-talkies, the little kiddie walkie-talkies that everybody gets their kids at some point. So we had those, and I had given one to the kids. We had our 2 kids, and then my nephew was with them. And so we set them out into the park. They were old enough to run around by themselves, but they needed to be checked on every now and then. So we set them out into the park, and we gave them a specific time to turn on the radio, and we would be calling them, and they were to find a spot and stay until they heard from us. And so we get into the park, we get going, we get to that time, and we're standing around. There are 1 million people, and you turn on the radio, and all you hear is, Mom, Dad, Mom, Dad, Billy, Bob, Joe, John, all these things that nobody can answer to, because nobody is sure who's calling who. Meanwhile, I grab the radio and I key it on and I say, "Big bad wolf to 3 little pigs, big bad wolf to 3 little pigs, come in 3 little pigs." And they immediately answer because they know exactly who I'm calling. Nobody else is calling for the 3 little pigs because we had worked that out before we got out of the car. Because I grew up in the CB time where everybody had a handle. And the lady next to me was like, "That is genius." She goes, "I never thought of that." She goes, "I've been trying to get a hold of my kids for the last hour and I cannot get them to answer." I'm like, of course not. Their names are John and Jacob. There are a million of those out here. So yeah, it was just kind of funny. But then of course, by the time we quit coming here, cell phones were a thing, so it wasn't a big deal. Although signal was spotty back there. It's not anymore. Now, oh gosh. Again, that was probably 15 years ago. And so we decided to come back this year. And we've enjoyed it. It's still a great park. It's still great to see all of the craftspeople, all of the stuff that they do, all the history. As a more mature person, more adult person, as an old person, I move a little slower around the park than I used to. It is a lot of up and down hill, but it's a fun park. They've got great music, great shows. It's always a blast. So I'm going to get back to my cigar. You guys have a good day. And again, this is going to be a weird episode because Kevin's off in Texas or wherever he is, and I'm over here, and we may or may not get together this week at all. So I'm going to piece something together for you guys, even if it's just a bunch of still shots with some music behind it. So we'll see you guys next week. Stay smoky.